We'll give him a quick second here. Alright, we will call the meeting to order here. Can everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Does anyone have anything for public discussion? Alright, if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda and minutes.
I'll move to approve the agenda and minutes from August 27th, 2024.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carried unanimous. Next thing is discussion, decision, review and approve claims. Is there any question or comment on the claims? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carried unanimous. Next up is our budget status report. That is in our folder. Has everyone had a chance to look through that? Is there any questions? Just like we've seen before, after claims, summaries of where we're sitting for each of the service areas and departments and all that stuff.
Is that helpful? Do you guys like that? I mean, is it, okay,
I think it is. I think it'll play more into account when we're actually talking budget, but I think background information, I think it's good through the year.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to have more information at least.
Okay.
Did you have something else, or?
I was gonna say, if it's not too much to do with.
Oh, no, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then,
it's
no,
easy.
I appreciate looking at it.
Okay,
Perfect. Alright, we'll let the record reflect that that's acknowledged. Next is discussion decision on moving forward with urban renewal area on wind turbines with Amy and Heidi. I think we have the conference line open.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
either
haven't
of them-
heard them join in, so.
Okay, let's see if we can get either of them on. Try calling Heidi.
I'll check.
Do you wanna try calling Amy or Tim? Hey Heidi, it's Kyle. Are you ready to join our conference line? We are up. Perfect, sounds good, thank you. Yep, bye. She's just gonna dial in. So hopefully Amy can hop on quick. This is kind of, as we discussed last week, this would be actual action to move forward, which actually, do you wanna call Doug Carter? This would be action based on our previous conversations to, move forward with, any
Hey, good morning, Doug
renewal
Carter.
areas.
Hey, we're up to urban renewal area. Yep, thanks. Bye.
And then any direction to staff to do stuff that way, if that's the board's desire, so. Actually, and we'll have claims to sign, so that'll give us a minute to. Okay, this is drainage. here, change this. September.
Morning.
Morning, Doug.
Good morning.
Good morning, this is Heidi.
Morning, Heidi. We do not have Amy on the line yet. I think Tammy sent her an email to check in to see if she could hop in quick, but, we are getting a little bit of paperwork signed here real quick, and we will be ready to go in no time.
I'm good.
Alright, Heidi, I don't know if you wanna start off with a little bit of a discussion about timeline. You and I had talked about that. Oh, good morning, Amy, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Perfect. Well, we just got a little bit of paperwork taken care of and we are ready to talk on this agenda item with urban renewal area for wind turbines and stuff, so I guess I'll turn it over to either one of you if you wanna talk about some stuff with the timeline and what we would need, moving forward if we choose to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to get started on that? That's where you want to begin this kind of process and procedure?
Yep,
Yeah, let's do that.
either way.
Okay. So, the procedural action, to set up to set up an urban renewal area or amend an urban renewal plan is pretty much the same. You need 2 meetings separated by about a month. So, we've got the board meeting bookending that month-long period. And the first step is to set a date for a public hearing. And with that, we need several pieces of information. We'll need to know, of course, the description of the windmills that we're adding. We'll need to add any property on which you want to undertake projects, etc. So we need boundary descriptions for those items. And then from there, we also need descriptions of the projects that you'll want to undertake, whether those are road projects or other types of improvements that you're considering. We need to draw those up into an urban renewal plan document. And then we'll have to be mindful, depending on property that's added to the urban renewal area, if it's within 2 miles of any city limits, we'll need to start working to get the consent of those cities to add any such property to the area.
Mhm.
And so as we're planning and looking at timeline, we need to structure the timeline such that you have time to get any of those city consents signed before the board comes back and holds the hearing and approves, the urban renewal plan document.
Okay, yep,
Have you been? Yep. So that's kind of where we start. Typically, when you hear the word setting a hearing, that sounds pretty ministerial or perfunctory, but here, really the bulk of the work comes before you even start the process, because we have to have all that information ready to go when we start the process by setting the hearing. Then, once you come back, the board holds the hearing and approves the plan document, the next thing that you need to be focusing on is what kind of debt do you want to get certified by December 1? And I would imagine, Heidi, you'll tell me if I'm wrong here, but we're probably looking at internal debt for this year, is that right?
If we're looking at anything other than internal debt, it would be a very condensed timeline. And we'd have to be getting things moving and everything to you, I would say no later than the September 17th meeting. It would be it'd be a condensed timeline that, we'd probably be approving an official statement at the same time we're holding hearings and maybe condensing award and issuance. And that's, it just, to do any type of bond issuance or private placement, we're really leaving, we're really gotta get moving on that September 15th date. I think internal debt is definitely an option at this time. However, if the board would like to try to do a bond issuance at this time, it's really going to be a quick moving process. And we'd be looking at closing bonds right up at that December 1st date.
Alright, anything else you guys would like to highlight for procedure or timeline or any of that stuff?
Just kind of to reiterate some things that, Amy and the Dorsey team would need are a description of the windmill, and then a description of the projects that you may intend to complete. Now, you wouldn't have to have all of those with that first bond issuance.
Yep, and I did share that example you had provided to me, Heidi. I shared that with the board and our auditor and engineer, so, of what Clay County had done.
Yes.
So I think that's a pretty decent guideline. I don't know, has everyone on the board had a chance to look at that?
Decent,
Yeah,
Yeah,
email, sent an email, yep.
Yep.
Josh, Jack, Roger, did you guys see that? Okay. Doug,
Who did you say provided that example?
Heidi,
Is that example then adequate for Amy? Cause she would be doing approving all the documentation as far as the area,
Yep.
plan area.
Amy, I don't know if you heard that question or not, but, our engineer Doug Miller asked if the example that Heidi provided from Clay County is like the correct format, or if that's acceptable kind of, structure to compare to.
Heidi, send that my way.
I don't have that your way, but that's something, between John and Bob was completed, so I'll send it your way.
Oh yeah, I probably have it here in our system somewhere.
It was, I think the date I see is 10/17/2019. I don't know if that helps you at all, but it has
Yeah,
what
I
we,
can take a look.
okay, yeah, it has what we generally talked about with the projects and list of roads and, then the property description for their wind towers, and has parcel identification and all that sort of, information, just kind of in a table.
Okay. Yep. Sounds correct.
Okay,
Amy, I've got it sent your way, if you wanna
Okay.
take a quick peek, it's just a portion of the urban renewal. It's the exhibit from the urban renewal. Plan.
Oh, okay. Yep. My filters are so. It takes a while for emails to pop through, but I'll keep my eyes peeled for it.
alright, Does anyone on the board have any questions or anything at this point?
Did I send over our worksheet? I mean, Doug had described some projects, for me when we were getting ready to start the urban renewal plan amendment for the existing area. So I mean, I think, you know, it's pretty straightforward in terms of, you know, giving location, et cetera, et cetera. What are we thinking in terms of what, are we going to just amend the existing area? Or are you trying to do a new area?
I guess that's one thing we discussed a little bit as a board here. We can obviously kinda have more conversations and maybe make a firm decision that way, but I think it would be cleaner to have a separate area for the wind turbines than the existing one, tying it in with Gold Eagle. Roger, not in agreement?
I think I'd do it separate.
Okay,
It just makes more sense.
yeah.
Keeps
And
everything cleaner.
yeah. Does anyone else have any thoughts or
Yeah.
references?
The only con to that is that, you know, you're gonna then, you know, you can't commingle TIF revenues between urban renewal areas. And
Yep,
if there are projects you wanted to undertake going forward in the Gold Eagle area, you would have to keep those separate from this new area.
yep,
Is there a specific project that the board is looking at for the gold, for the rebate agreement, you know, to just keep that separate, you know?
Yeah, I
And
think-
that keeps it that way.
I think we've already got.
But they are, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I think we've already got a list of projects that could be built in that area, so I think we've got ample amount of projects versus funding there.
More projects and we're gonna have funding.
Right,
Well, then that kind of begs the question is do you wanna do it together so that if the funding isn't there, the wind turbines could be the backfall to those projects or vice versa?
I don't think,
No.
I don't know,
I don't see the advantage and that's a small area that the Gold Eagle
yeah,
one is.
yeah, it's a
As
small
the
portion
size
of the county,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I don't think it'd be an advantage.
I don't think so either,
So you wouldn't wanna use the TIF from the windmills to help fund any projects in the Gold area,
no,
Gold Eagle area?
no, probably not,
Okay, because I think we can just tell you, and I don't think Heidi will mind saying this. Typically, people find it almost easier to have just one combined area. Especially if you're considering, like so many of our counties have in the past few years, you know, we see a lot that folks are really using urban renewal and TIF revenues to undertake road improvement projects county-wide. And so we see a lot of our counties from the beginning, or if they hadn't started this way, then just adding all the road right-of-ways in the county kind of in one shot and just administering one urban renewal area. So it's something to think about. It's certainly not illegal to have two. And if it keeps it more clear for you folks, that's totally fine, but there are some advantages of having just one area.
I think
Do
the difference
we know?
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I guess, do we know what, have you guys thought about what property you're gonna put in the urban renewal area to begin with?
I guess all the wind turbines that we have had newly constructed is what we've gotten, financial estimate based off of. That kind of scenario, we've got a couple scenarios we looked at with that. And I guess my opinion on the 1 versus 2 areas is the Gold Eagle one is already roughly halfway done, and it's for a specific construction project right there by Titanca. And I think it gives clarity to everyone involved, taxpayers and the board and everyone, to have them separate because of the timeline and the location specifics and stuff. I think it makes sense to have it a separate designated area for the wind turbines, so we can have a accurate account of what exactly was produced or projects that were accomplished with that funding, rather than having things commingled and trying to explain, okay, this portion of this total project was hypothetically paid by one or the other, and I just think it opens up too many potential questions down the road.
So if we're going to put all the roads, for example, as a project, the roads that are in the current, TIF area would have to be separated from all the other roads in the county, and TIF, and then the money in that TIF area would have to be used for those roads, and then the rest of the county be used with this new one, is that right?
Yes,
But we'd still have our local funds.
you can only spend TIF revenues within the urban renewal area
Yep.
that they are generated.
Yep,
Yeah.
Funds would be separate.
yeah, the
So do
funds and projects
So
would
we
be
have,
separate.
I think if I understand it correctly, that we really need to try to get a certification done by December 1, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
if we're doing it separately, then we need to, for the current, urban renewal, yes. I don't know what you guys wanna do for the new one, but if you're keeping them separate, at least the urban renewal has to have a debt certification.
well, we would already have certified debt on the current one, right?
No,
We have internal loans for that, that's certified, aren't they?
yeah, but if you're gonna recertify for the new project, you gotta certify that by December 1st.
Yep, we're on the same page, yep.
Well, we can't build that bridge
No,
on,
I have a question on that though. I thought that with the existing area we do have some new proposed projects, but you still need at least one more year of tip selections to get yourself paid back before you needed to certify it.
Yeah.
Is that incorrect?
we can't do anything until we get money on Gold Eagle.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so I think we have enough debt certified, but to do
No,
that
we
project.
No, we don't.
Well,
That's the.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's the
brought up this
issue.
whole conversation is,
We don't
we
have
got
the
the
money.
projects, but we
Yeah.
don't have the money.
we have enough
gotta-
debt certified to collect the money coming in, but we don't have enough debt certified to build that project, right?
We need to get a loan, yes,
Yes.
in order to construct any project on Gold Eagle.
Okay, yep,
But in terms of timing, didn't we, when we had one of our initial conversations, Doug and Tammy, didn't we think that you have debt certified that you're gonna collect through like maybe next year and then you need to certify? Or do you need to hurry up and get certified by December 1? In other words, are you still maxed out on your 10 certification and paying yourself back? Or have
Yes,
you paid yourself back for everything and you need new debt by December 1?
so we have not paid ourselves back for everything. We still owe ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We just need the new funds, in order to do the project this spring. So we need, to come up with either an internal
But
loan.
timing wise, do you need to certify by this December 1 or are you still gonna be collecting TIF to pay off the old debt first.
Yes, we'll still be collecting TIF.
So in that case, we have enough certified to collect the next year's revenue, but we don't have enough certified to build the project that we're talking about. So, does that answer your question?
But
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of doesn't seem to me like we need to hurry up and certify at least 4, now I'm talking only the Gold Eagle urban renewal area, that we don't need to hurry up and certify by December 1. Because we've already maxed out for next year. I mean, we're certifying December 1 of 24 for collection 25, 26, and it sounds to me like you still have, you need the TIF that you'll collect in 25, 26 to pay back the old debt.
right, because Tyke and
Right.
Gold Eagle have expired, or their 10 years is up, so now we will be collecting all the funds from that urban renewal.
Yes,
My question is, would it be simpler to have one TIF district with the internal loan? Would that make it simpler?
For me,
It would for
It-
Tammy. I see that the bookkeeping would be simpler if you had one loan.
yeah,
correct?
because there's a lot of reports that go with TIF and urban renewal, and if we have 2 of them, I'm gonna have to report separately on each of them.
Right,
So for the bookwork part of it, yes, there's more work if you have 2.
well, I think it'd be simpler to have it all in one as far as building the bridge, because then you'd know that you'd have the loan quicker.
it's simpler to put them all together, because then you just have one TIF revenue fund to
Right.
pay back the debts. And so then you're not limited, or you're not limiting your debt payments to 2 different revenue streams.
Correct.
Basically, since that, I would envision it as, since the Golden Eagle was smaller, as that was more being the buffer for the next 10 years. And I know it, from a project standpoint, then all the revenues get put into one, but it does put some advantages. It doesn't limit you from a revenue standpoint if you put them from all together. Then all of your projects can be paid from that one source. And then you don't have 2 separate areas of reporting as well.
Makes sense.
And I could see those advantages, I don't know how complicated we would make for a situation to answer questions from the public or anyone else if you're trying to explain all this stuff, if they're all tied in the same bucket. And that's more,
But your projects that you do should be self-explanatory to the public. I mean, it's a TIF project, so we're using TIF dollars to do this project, and it's technically saving the county some taxpayers some money.
right, but there was a lot of strong opinions, both directions about the wind turbines, and intermingling that with a elevator project, I think muddies the water of explaining what potential financial benefit there may or may not be with that
But
situation.
the wind projects are done, so I mean, you're taking advantage of,
Well, it's not hard to explain
yeah,
the elevator, because that's done. They aren't getting any more money, so that project's done. That's the simple answer. They're not getting any of that money. They've met for 10 years and they're not gonna collect any more. So that's not too hard to explain.
Well, I know some of the situations and numbers I've tried to explain recently for other things, and the more pieces that make it complicated, the harder it is for everybody to understand it, us as a board included, so.
well, I don't think you're ever gonna explain TIF to the general public.
That's our job.
It's complicated. That would be an educational process.
I know where you're coming from, but if we combine them all in the beginning, there's no turning back to that, so.
No, but I see where the funding would be simpler with one district, and then you don't have to separate any roads that you have in that TIF area out.
Yep.
It would all be, if you wanted to do R14 or whatever blacktop is, you could just go do it. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have to separate 5 miles out of the project, so.
Right. Any other thoughts from the board on combined or separate?
Because it sounds like it's better just to have one instead of two separate ones.
Okay,
I think on the explaining end of things, but like I said, turbines are there. Gold Eagle project is done as far as their end's concerned. And we're just focusing on what projects we want to do. So whether that comes out of that particular area or from another, it's all the same explanation
kind of.
in general.
Okay, Josh, you got any thoughts or?
I mean, you're gonna have a hard time explaining it anyways in some situations, so, I mean, if it's gonna be easier in the accounting side of things of keeping the accounts together, I think it would be more beneficial to do that. That way we can have a picture of
Okay.
the numbers all in one area versus having to look at two separate areas, so.
Alright, well, does that work for you guys? I mean, I think you both kinda said it might be a little easier to have it in one area, so if we proceed with one area, moving forward, then we probably still would need to have new debt certified by December 1st because the dollars that'd be coming in would exceed what we have as outstanding debt right now, so we probably do need to look at a expedited timeline.
Yeah, I think we still need to look at an expedited timeline, whether it's one or two. So the reason is that with the wind turbines, I think we need to set that base value by December 1,
Yep.
so that it is, we can maintain as much valuation in the TIF area as possible. If any type of TIF that is not certified, we'll lose 5%
Yep,
of those revenues in the TIF revenues, then those would go back to the general operation. So that's where the push is to get a debt certified by December 1 is to lock in the base value for the wind turbine base.
yep,
Correct. Yep.
okay, has anyone thought about projects? I mean, I think the turbines are pretty self-explanatory, we need the legal description, but with this example, I mean, I think we can kind of plug and play our information into that form, or into that example or formula type structure. I looked through our 5-year plan, like I kinda talked about last week a little bit, I made some notes on a couple projects, and I guess I'll reiterate what I said last week. I think if we start with a $2 to $3 million target, for initial financing and projects and stuff, that's kinda what I would look at, and I guess I've had the figure in my head for a while, but I think $1 million towards the grandstand projects and the remainder towards road projects would be my target. I wrote down some projects from the 5-year plan with R14, P30, and then like the bridge on the north side of the Union Slough. those three combined would be just shy of 2 million. So I guess, I don't know, any thoughts from the board or
I think we've got a lot of pavement stretches that are over 20, or at 25 years old. Every year we get more pavement stretches. And if you really want to try to catch up with infrastructure improvement, you're gonna need more dollars than that. And bridges the same way. We have about 10 bridges that are over 60 years old and more bridges that are posted. And if you want to improve the infrastructure of Kossuth County, it's gonna take some dollars. And I think you need to look at more than what's in the 5-year program. Please remember the 5-year program was limited because of reductions that were placed, dollar reductions that were placed, that were decreased in construction. So
Doug, I think
please don't just look at the 5-year program, because there's a lot more work that needs to be done.
I understand that. I think it's important to remember that this is a starting point. There's a lot more dollars that would be available if we proceed down this path over the next 20 years. So this is the first set of projects, not the last.
But next year's, for example, I don't know how much of the Bode Hobart Road we can even resurface because of dollar limitations. So, and I have another stretch of road down in Laverne Township that is in the program, but we're not gonna be able to do anything on it because we don't have dollars this year. You're gonna come right back and you're gonna need to amend a plan, because those dollars are gonna get used up awfully quick. When you start looking at $100,000 per inch per mile for resurfacing costs, you're not able to resurface too much. When you have 500 miles of road and 20 year life, you should be doing 25 miles per year, and we haven't been doing that, so we've been going deeper in the hole. So my advice is, yes, you have that money, you're gonna be getting a loan, you might as well get enough so you can get a few years and not just 1 or 2.
I guess looking at the financial scenario of what would be expected to come in, if we did 3 million on the first plan, that would exceed 2 years worth of revenue as the turbines ramp up, as they progress to reach their full valuation. We would have more dollars available, and I think if we start off small, relatively small, but still 2 to 3 million is still a significant dollar figure. So I think that's a good mix between being cautious with the TIF and urban renewal area, but still being substantially supporting our infrastructure. And I guess I don't think we should do any more than 3 million in the first stretch. It's about leverage and being responsible with how it's used. We can always amend it and add more projects and add more debt as things are taken care of.
This may be helpful as well, when you're going in and borrowing, from a tax exempt standpoint, whether that's a private placement or a bond market loan, those are tax exempt debts, which have some provisions in it that you're going to spend down the money in a specific period of time. so the advice that I give to my clients is that you're wanting to spend those bond proceeds in 2 and no longer than 3 years, time frame. So, that kind of gives you kind of the max amount of what you're looking to spend, because there's some requirements that you actually spend those proceeds down, because of the interest that will be earned on a tax-exempt bond. So, yeah, looking at that 2, longer than 3 year spend down time frame.
Well, thank you for that information. I think that is probably important to consider as well. If we look at all of
You
our,
just can't have bond proceeds sitting around for 5 years, you're gonna
Yeah.
earn interest and the IRS is gonna start asking some questions.
Yep.
So,
well, in that aspect, I mean, I see no reason to spend a huge percentage of what we have able to finance here and do all these projects all at once and then have them all wear out at the same time. 10, 20, 50 years from now. So. Does anyone have any thoughts as far as projects or dollar figures or any of that from the board?
You're gonna have to work very closely with the county engineer and these projects. You're gonna have to have an understanding of what you're going to do and how you're gonna do it the most efficiently. So you can't do it willy-nilly or it's not gonna work either.
from an urban renewal plan standpoint, ideally, I think what you look at is what are you trying to do in the next 5 years, and maybe you don't borrow for the full amount of what you're looking at in the next 5 years from a road standpoint, and put that in the plan. So then there's some flexibility that if another road or bridge becomes higher in priority, that you have some flexibility to switch between those projects.
Yeah, I mean, you think about these urban renewal programs where you've got, a pretty good source of income for the next several years from the windmill. It is an ongoing program that you're gonna be amending the plan from time to time and borrowing money so that you can take the best advantage of the funds that you have available and the projects that you decide to prioritize, which, as we all know, can change from year to year. So, this first step, I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. We can, because I think, is the bridge project that's in the original co-op area, is that kind of the first priority, or will priorities change now within the bigger area?
Any thoughts from the board on that?
Meaning that was the first priority within that district, but if everything is being combined into one, then is that still the priority? Is that-
Well, you
That's our
too
question,
much
yeah.
of expense already on that bridge project. You got land bought, you got, I don't know how much engineering studies were done already. I mean, you wouldn't have to do it before all that work expires.
I mean, I would still say that bridge is something that needs to get done, I agree with that, but, that is a question, I mean, that would apply to any other projects in that area too, if you throw them all together. And I guess that's why I came up with some projects that I think are a priority, cause Doug's asked for direction and priorities of the board many times, and those are some that I would have priority.
My understanding is that we start out with $2 or $3 million, and as the windmills ramp up in revenue, we can amend the project. And you
Absolutely.
can borrow more money or change it.
Yep, and
So.
so, yeah.
Just getting it started and quit worrying about all the nuts and bolts of it and work it out as we go is what we have to decide to do.
I fully agree with that, and that's where
Well,
I just said, this is a starting
that's
point, it's a
why-
couple projects to get going.
The reason why I asked is because, if this were, springtime, and we had, months and months ahead of us before the December 1 filing, we'd be saying, take your time, nail down exactly what you wanna do over the next several years, get everything, whatever property besides the windmills you want, get it all in the plan if you can. But we're up against a pretty tight deadline at this
Yeah.
point. And so I don't know if it's simpler to get something in place now and then have you all spend the time so that we can get something certified by December 1, and then you have, all the time in the world to kind of come back and do an amendment. It's up to you, and someone still has told me, no, if you guys are gonna try to include all the right of way now and get all the city consents, or if you just wanna start, because I think because
Needs
the
to be
bridge
done.
project is in the urban renewal area now, right?
Correct.
Yep,
So, technically, I'm just thinking of different scenarios here. I mean, one option you have for now to just get something certified by December 1 is to get the windmills added. You might need some city consents there if there are any windmills that are within 2 miles.
yep, there would be, so if we're getting all them added, we would need to go through that process right away to get them included.
So just lead yard and Lakota.
How many, is it all the
Lead
cities,
Yard
or
and
is it just
Lakota,
one or
and
two?
I don't know if there's any within 2 miles of Algona.
I don't think so.
Okay, they might be outside that. Yeah, we'd have at least 2 towns.
I think that'd be it.
Yeah, well, that's it, and how many are in the county?
How many turbines or towns?
No, how many cities, yeah.
Well, there's 2 on our borders, but that would be 12 total.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're gonna add all the public right of way, you're gonna have to get all 12 city consent.
Okay,
Okay.
Sure.
so, yeah,
See what I'm saying on timing? Now, if you just add the windmills for now and get an internal loan done for the bridge project, then you can kind of go back to the drawing board and decide, okay, do we want to, in 2025, do we want to go back and add all of the right of way and get the city consent? And then do we want to, what other projects do we want to undertake?
well, I guess one of the,
Or you can decide now, let's try to get all the city consents. The problem is, we've missed probably several first, cities mainly, typically, when they meet, I don't have to tell you
For
guys,
the
we've
first
probably
Monday and
missed
Tuesdays of the month,
some city council meetings already. It's
but with Labor Day.
sometimes wrangling the city consents can be a little time consuming, depending on their council meeting schedules, et cetera.
that was
So
one I
I'm
would
just
have
trying to
too.
offer you some ways if you wanna start simple, because Heidi and I are gonna tell you, we gotta start this action by at least, at the latest, the last meeting in September. To get you to a December 1 certification, and I'm using the internal advance example for certification, Heidi. I could be out in left field and you guys might be trying to need to borrow, so.
We won't be able to do a $3 million internal loan. So,
How much, is that the $3 million figure, is that the amount of TIFs that will be available?
we would have, was it 600 to 700,000 in the first year just from the wind turbines? So I mean,
We don't have,
we could maybe do $1 million internal, but that'd be pushing it probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could do it, and Heidi, don't let me get too far off into your territory, but for purposes of the December 1 deadline, you could do the internal advance, followed up by a borrowing so that you could get yourself paid back, and then, use the TIF to service the loan kind of thing. I mean, and Heidi's your expert on that, I don't want to.
Knowing that you have 12 consents that you'll have to get with each of those right away, it's gonna be difficult to get that done in 1 month's time frame. Just because of the way the city council meetings, meet. A lot of the smaller communities only have, meet once a month. So I think what we do is we go down the path of the internal loan while the county coincidentally is working on getting everything from the road, so that we'll actually be borrowing in the first quarter of 2025 as well. So we'll do an internal borrowing to ensure that you have
Debt certified.
at that date.
Okay.
But we still continue and maybe are working on, and we're working on getting the consent from the city at a little bit slower pace that kind of coincides. So really, from a priority standpoint, it's really getting the description of the windmills and those boundaries.
And then the bridge, and then whatever project you want to finance first.
Yeah,
And I think it makes sense if the bridge is already in the plan, we'll do the internal borrowing for that bridge. Is that, or no?
I think the bridge is physically in the urban renewal area. But we still have to do like a project description.
Oh, as a project, okay.
Which won't be a big deal because, we'll be amending the plan anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
does anyone on the board have any thoughts or anything for the grandstand aspect that I said? I mean, after some of the questions and concerns about the substructure were talked about last week, I asked Scott if he wanted to come in to address any of that or answer any questions from the board, so he's back there if anyone has any questions.
If you do the grandstand, you would need consent from the city of Algona.
Correct, then we would need city consent from Algona, which they meet twice a month, I believe. So that should be easy enough. What's that?
fairgrounds is Algona's property, correct?
Be in the city limits.
I mean, who owns the fairgrounds?
Ag Association.
Agricultural Association,
It's county,
it's county.
it's county property in city limits.
Separate.
It's
Ag
separate.
Association.
It's red, I mean, it's
not Kossuth County.
yeah, it's an Ag Association. First United Methodist Church.
So,
owns part of it.
what, you all like the plan that Heidi just kind of outlined regarding at least getting the windmills added, and then whatever project you want to finance, and then kind of planning then in 2025, if need be, or maybe not, but, at some point down the road, maybe coming back and doing a more inclusive amendment to get all those right-of-ways in there and any other projects. Kind of keep things simple in the lead up to December 1. Does that work okay for everyone?
I don't we're not gonna have a ton of money the first year in,
The wind turbines,
right,
be 600,000-700,000.
yeah, but I mean, it's not no $2 million or $3 million the first year, so I think
No,
you
but
should
you're-
start and then amend your process as you go, instead of, you gotta have projects involved, I get that, but,
That's the core fundamental of it.
but the timeline is spread out over years, not doing all the projects the first year, so. And then you can add projects later as your funding stream grows.
I guess what's the desire of the board here? I mean, I've
I think you,
tried to put my thoughts out there and put them together, but
Well, I think you just gotta do the groundwork, you need to get the locations of the windmills in place and then get, you know, some debt, which the bridge is already in there, if that's enough to go with for the first year. You know, you can add another bridge to it that Doug feels needs to be replaced, and then you if you're gonna do it, you gotta get it in place, get it started, and then you can add projects to it as, next year you can go through and add another project to it. But you gotta get the thing in place first.
1 million internal loan fund, not gonna do a lot of building.
But it would get the process rolling.
it would get it started.
It'll get that date set so that you could then borrow another 2 to 3 or million in first quarter of 2025.
Right.
That's gonna set that base value for you.
Right.
We don't wanna internally borrow, really much more than what the revenue is going to be coming in, because we'll wanna use the revenue for the larger borrowing.
Right. That's,
Mhm.
but I think we should start the process if we're gonna do it.
Well, at what point in time is the board gonna have priorities on what we're gonna spend the money on?
Well, that'll have to come between talking with, Doug, like, coming up with his priorities and as far as the grandstand, that's something gonna have to make sure that that's all
I
okay.
mean, essentially, for like public hearing notices and so forth, when you go to, because you will have to have a public hearing on that internal loan. Counties have this weird law that's sitting there that tells us the counties have to have a public hearing on an internal loan. And so, we know that several of the projects are, road and bridge improvements, right? So that's gonna be a very general sort of description for what goes in the hearing notice for the internal loan. Such that you would have some flexibility there. You don't have to say it's gonna be, County Highway A34. You don't have to be that specific. Now, we'll be that specific in the plan. And Doug already has a really good start on at least, compiling information he would need. He did a good job of getting a list started before this sort of windmill amendment came about. And so, if you want to add, I keep hearing mention of a grandstand. I assume that's the county fairgrounds, maybe, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, if we add that to the plan, and we say, then for purposes of the internal loan, we're gonna use the money on county, road and bridge improvements or the grandstand, then, you've got some flexibility there, so I don't want you to, you'll have the ability to, if that's the route you wanna go, if you decide we're just gonna stick with county bridge and highway improvements for this first amendment, we can do that too. Just kind of an example of how we can structure things to give you some flexibility.
So what I'm hearing you say, is that we should certify around what our revenue is going to be this year to get the process rolling, have a project or two named, which could always be amended later on, and then in the first quarter of 25, move forward with a more detailed process and how we're going to fund that and what projects we wanna do. Is that, am I understanding that right?
I think so. I mean, any projects that you're gonna do soon, make sure that we get in this first plan amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, you know, you can let it play out a little bit.
Sure.
We could come back and,
Well, then a question maybe for Scott, since you guys are here. I guess, well, first of all, questions were raised about the substructure and of the, how viable of an option that truly is, and, you know, just putting a new guts basically in an old frame. Can you speak to that at all?
Can you come up to the podium when you respond quick, Scott?
We had an engineer for the day, I think it was 5 years ago, go through it all. And that was 5 years ago, but he said it was all good at that time. And yeah, it's Larry Olson from Olson Engineering. So he ran through this. Well, I guess one copy, if he wants to look at it, but it's all stuff I don't understand, but yeah, he had said that everything was good at that time. We basically got 3 different prices. We've been dealing with Atera over in Clear Lake. And they did one with tearing the whole thing down, another one with just doing the guts. What was the third one, Ben, you remember?
Just bleachers.
Just bleachers, yeah. But, and their suggestion was keeping the roof. I think the roof itself was $500,000. And the substructure, that's, I guess, part of the structure is keeping the roof too. They felt confident that that was good, and I gave them that survey right there. So, like I said, that's been 5 years ago. I don't know if it needs to be done again.
Here it talks about,
There's a couple footings that would be replaced in the project, though.
Yeah.
yeah,
And Otera's, they of course looked at it too and done all their due diligence on it too, and I guess they were satisfied that it was good enough just to basically get it and do it. That was gonna save right at $1 million doing the gutting it and keeping the roof and the other.
and that includes recapping the concrete
Yeah.
on the piers,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Yeah, I guess,
Pretty much does the whole grandstand plus the concession stand is in there. The only thing we didn't do was the bathrooms.
bathroom should be in there.
Yeah, that probably should be. We didn't put that in there. But pretty much everything else but the bathrooms was in there for being all redone. And we've been dealing with fundraising deal here. We have Zoom meetings once a week with them, and I think we've got a little over 300,000 raised right now. Gotta
Yeah,
check to
and
make
I
sure.
don't know if anyone else on the board read it, but that report from the Sherry Group, consistently talked about the emphasis of county involvement and support and, that sort of backbone and structure being pivotal for others who are considering contributing to this project, so, I guess I see a $1 million commitment as a very strong starting point from the county, which could also encourage and support others to follow suit.
That would jumpstart it pretty good.
And I believe Matt told me he thought that if there was $1 million committed, that work could be started.
They say you need 50 to 60%
Okay, yeah,
to get your grants and stuff like that, but,
so roughly that dollar
yeah.
figure.
and that would be, unless, if we did, so if we went to tear the whole thing down and start over again, which is an option, but that is another $1 million more. So, I think right now we're at 1.9, just under 2. And you know how that goes.
Mhm.
We may add some more to that, but
Right,
it was 1.7, I think, 3 years ago,
right.
so.
Yeah, and I guess I understand the concerns of not wanting to spend a lot of money on a substructure that's gonna fail, but if it's in good shape, there's no reason to replace it if
Yeah.
it's able to support it, in my opinion, so.
I've looked
I guess.
both ways. I guess it's always good to save a buck, but you know, you're already spending 2 million if I want to be there. This one lasted 100 years. I mean, it'd be nice if another 100 years it's still there, so.
Right,
Yep.
Some of that was moved at one time.
That's the way I understand it, yeah. It was on the
It
other
used
side
to
of the
be on
track.
the
and
other
moved.
side and they
Yeah.
moved it, so some of that structure is 100 years old right now.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. It's done well. It's,
Honestly, they don't make things like they used to.
So
Yeah.
this is Amy, Heidi and I can be useful, we're happy to stick around. If you are just, wanna get back to us with the information, you let us know, I mean, we're happy, I'm not trying to rush off, but.
Yep. Well, I
don't
guess
wanna-
as a
don't wanna
board, I
take up too
think
much
we
of your
need,
time to-
yep, thanks for chiming in there, Amy. As far as the direction here, I think as a board, we need to make a decision on whether we're gonna proceed or not, and, kind of have some sort of a direction here, so.
Well, it's my opinion. that-
If I could kind of make a suggestion is if the board does want to move forward and maybe kind of shooting to set a date, for September 17th, which kind of gives us, you know, a couple weeks here to get those descriptions and then, that short list of projects, on there. Amy, I mean, to set that date, at what point would you need all that information if September 17th, is the set date?
Oh, you know, a week ahead of time probably,
The 1 week?
depending on, I mean, ideally, you know, that's, you know, next week already, so.
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna do an internal advance, you know, the sooner the better with the information, so we can help analyze which cities we need to get a consent to, if there are any other issues. And I mean, I almost think,
24th.
unless you guys just have the information, if you need one more week beyond the 17th, and that would be what, the 24th? Something like that, I mean, I think that would be okay to plan to start then too. October's a longer month, and so that would put us in place to be having a hearing on the internal advance by first couple weeks in November, maybe,
Okay.
if you're comfortable with that.
Yep.
And just, the 17th is gonna creep up on us pretty quickly because of, you know, now we're already 3 days into September, so.
Okay, yeah, let's shoot for the 24th. I just wanted to kind of give the board an idea of, you know, we'll still need to get those items, including the descriptions and some, you know, plans, you know, a week in advance for that 24th meeting, so.
Okay,
And as you go along and continue your discussions, if we need additional phone calls, you just let us know.
okay, yep, for sure.
thank you.
Yep, thanks for that. Anyone from the board have any questions or thoughts on direction here?
Yeah, I think we just need to get the ball rolling, get it started.
As far as your projects, I don't think we can make a final decision on the project until after January, and you know more what's gonna happen.
You have to do it.
We
before
have to
that.
have projects.
Some
Yeah.
projects, but I mean, as far as adding more,
Yeah, we can always add more, whether it's in January or
It's not
anytime.
gonna be hard to have projects. There's
No.
tons of bridges and roads, so it isn't hard to find.
Right,
Put a couple of priority secondary road projects in there at the beginning. As we move forward, that'll give us more time to say, hey, this is what the county wants to contribute, if we're gonna end up doing something with the grandstands. This is what the county wants to contribute, and it gives the community time to respond to that and say, okay, this is what we need to make up, and we're gonna do it, you know, businesses, community members, whatever, that wanna donate towards that, but, I think at the beginning here, let's just, do a couple of secondary road projects that are priorities, and get the ball rolling that way, that'd be where I'm at.
okay,
Kind of our target date would be, probably August of next year, if possible,
To build,
to build. So
Oh.
we've got a year to play.
okay.
well, we wouldn't have a year to play
You
because
guys
we'd
wouldn't
have,
No.
we'd have public hearings and
Right.
a whole lot of process
Once we
before
got your
that,
stuff,
so
that
we
gives us
don't.
time to do the rest. Yeah,
okay,
figure I got at least one more year of the old grandstand, so
okay,
just to get our.
one more racing
rolling.
season, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, okay, and if you need anything, you guys know where I'm at.
Alright, I appreciate you being here, Scott.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys, for coming in.
How's it going?
Good.
well, I guess, do we need a formal motion to proceed forward and direct staff to prepare, this information, or what's the desire of the board?
Say we should have a motion.
Tammy's looking for direction.
Yeah,
So, the motion would include, or well, what all would the motion exactly include? Do you need it included in the motion, I guess?
Amending our current urban renewal plan to include the TIF, or the,
wind
windmills.
turbines,
Wind turbines.
and directing staff to prepare that information that the attorney and financial consultants need. Which is, I mean, this exhibit is an example of that stuff, but it's legal descriptions and projects.
And we don't need a dollar figure in the motion,
No,
or anything, okay,
no, we just need a starting point to move forward.
okay. Well, then I'd make a motion to move forward with an urban renewal area on wind turbines in Kossuth County and direct staff to prepare property
The
descriptions.
necessary
That's
information,
necessary information.
okay? I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Questions? Alright,
Yeah, quick question, do we need to set a date for
September 24th.
24?
oh, do you wanna include that in your motion?
I'd include that in a motion for September 24th,
Okay, I'm good with that.
For what, for
To-
September 24th?
just set the,
Public
public
hearing.
hearing, there we go.
Oh, no, we'll do that on September 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thi-
that's what
this
she's
is
saying.
This is just
Yeah.
direction that we would set it at that meeting.
Okay, alright.
Yep. Alright, is there any other discussion or questions on the motion at hand? Roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Yes.
Jerks,
Yes,
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath,
Yes.
Stecker.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you all for the conversation, and we will work to get stuff put together and prepared for that time frame. So. Alright. Thanks, Amy and
Awesome,
Heidi.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
you too. Alright. Phil, you are up
We have
next.
a public hearing at 9 o'clock.
Well, do we have anyone here for that public hearing?
Yep, thank you. Thanks.
If possible, I'd like to be able to leave at 9:30. I need to be in Des Moines at noon.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
And I do, when you say direct staff, who is staff? For for this.
I guess,
The auditor, assessor, and engineer would all work on, or would all be part of that property description
GIS.
or GIS process, I would assume.
You would assume, or you want them?
No, that's what we want. I mean, you'll have to get your project.
Yeah, I can-
A project.
I just wanna know who do you want to bring the
The
area to?
The GIS is gonna do the locations,
I've been visiting with Luke.
so we'll get the
The wind,
locations.
are you talking about just wind turbines, or are you talking about meteorological towers as well?
I think we should include them all.
Okay.
Wind turbine projects would include that.
I've been hurt to put them in there.
Well, you'd include the substations too, wouldn't you?
I don't believe those are taxed.
they're
Sure.
on,
Through replacement,
they're on the electric tax,
they're on replacement,
yeah.
which they shouldn't be.
I mean, whoever you want to bring that information to you, you should be visiting with that person, that county official.
You'll have to do all the roads too.
I will be bringing a list of roads with their condition and bridges with expected life to the board of supervisors next Tuesday. And I hope I can get location maps with that as well.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
So who do you want to bring the area information to you?
As far as the location of the towers.
Correct. Somebody's gonna have to put together legal descriptions for you.
I think Luke would be the obvious one to do that, right? I think he has the information on those.
He does.
You,
I
I
mean,
mean, I
they have
know
to be compiled
I
and,
mean, I know you had it at one time.
Yes.
You know, and I know
but
that's-
he's got more of the county parcel identification information.
I think have Luke do that.
Would you like me to visit with Luke about that, or does somebody else want to visit with Luke about that?
You probably have a better understanding of what's needed and how that works, so if you would be willing to talk to him, I think.
Is that the board's desire?
Yes.
Sure.
And then Tammy needs to be included in that conversation with him.
She's his department head.
Okay, thank you.
And if Kyle wants to sit in as, go and talk to him with you as the chairman, probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, it all kind of depends on my schedule.
Yeah, right.
And everyone else's, so, and I don't know my schedule,
That
to
way,
be honest with
the
you.
lines of communication are there for everybody involved.
Alright, do we wanna do the, public hearing quick,
Ed
or?
wants to leave, so yeah.
Yeah.
we gotta do that.
Ed, Bill's been sitting here all morning too.
I'm downloading videos across the street, I'm good.
Alright,
Thank you,
I think I included
yeah, they were.
most of this in the board's packet as far as an outline for the hearing. And if they choose the approval of everything.
Okay, if we skip down to the proposed amendment to the Kossuth County zoning ordinance imposing a 9-month moratorium on the processing of any applications to construct large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems or associated facilities anywhere in Kossuth County, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Platt,
Yes.
Jerks,
Abstain.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath,
Yes.
Stecker.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Is there any public comments we've received in writing or anything?
No
At
written
this time?
comments have been received by the zoning administrator.
Okay. Is there anyone here to make public comments for this hearing? Okay. Is there any comments from the board? that you'd like to make?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay,
Excuse me, may I make a few statements?
well, would you rescind
I'll
your
rescind my
motion?
motion.
The Kossuth County Planning and Zoning Commission met on August 5, 2024 and recommended a 9-month moratorium for processing applications and construction of large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems. The Kossuth County Board of Supervisors received and accepted the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation on August 6, 2024. On August 6, 2024, the Board of Supervisors set the public hearing for the moratorium for September 3, 2024. The proposed amendment and notice of hearing were published in the August 20 edition of the Algona Reminder. The proposed amendment and notice of hearing were published in the August 21 edition of the Sway City Herald and Bancroft Register, and the proposed amendment and notice of hearing were published in the August 22 edition of the Kossuth County Advance. All notice was correct for the public hearing, and it has been published.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Anything else that you have for this?
No.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that motion? Roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Yes.
Jerks,
Abstain.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath,
Yes.
Stecker.
Yes, motion carried unanimous. Alright, we have completed the hearing. Any comments? The next item on our agenda is to approve the first reading of the proposed amendment, which is in our packet. Doug, would you like to read that, amendment?
I
Or
do
do you
not
want-
have a copy of it, right?
Do you want, I can read it here. This is the Kossuth County zoning ordinance amendment. Title is an ordinance amending the Kossuth County, Iowa zoning ordinance imposing a 9-month moratorium on the processing of any applications to construct large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems or associated facilities anywhere in Kossuth County. Findings: the Kossuth County Board of Supervisors, upon the recommendation of the Kossuth County Planning and Zoning Commission, hereby makes the following finds. Number 1, whereas Kossuth County has recently been approached by several entities interested in constructing large-scale, an example, greater than 20 acres, or utility scale, an example, energy produced primarily intended to be distributed to the electrical grid or electrical power grid for use by the public, solar energy systems in the county, and whereas such systems involve the installation of large solar panels above and associated above and or below ground connections and transmission lines, miscellaneous electrical equipment, as well as access roads, and whereas the installation of said systems necessarily impacts the county's public infrastructure, including roads and drainage facilities, and whereas once installed, said systems impact the visual landscape as well as the use of land in and around the large scale or utility scale solar energy systems and associated facilities, and whereas the officers of Kossuth County and the entities desiring to construct such systems deserve a thoughtful process to develop regulations concerning the placement and operation of such systems in Kossuth County, and the board requires adequate time to address those parties' concerns before drafting and adopting such regulations. And whereas the board, consistent with the recommendation of the Kossuth County Planning and Zoning Commission, believes that a short-term moratorium on the processing of any request to construct large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems in the county is necessary and proper in order for the board to seek public and professional input from interested parties and consider potential changes to the county's comprehensive plan and or land use regulations to address new circumstances and technologies that are not currently adequately addressed therein. And whereas during the moratorium period, the board will solicit input from all interested parties concerning the proper regulation of large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems in Kossuth County. Wherefore, the Kossuth County Board of Supervisors hereby issues a moratorium of 9 months duration and beginning upon final passage of this ordinance, during which the county will not accept or process any applications for the construction of large-scale or utility-scale solar energy systems. Alright, do I have any motion to approve the first reading of the proposed amendment to the Kossuth County zoning ordinance?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second, thanks Jack. Any discussion on this motion? Roll call vote please.
Plath,
Yes.
Jerks,
Abstain.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nah,
Yes.
Stecker.
Yes, motion carries. Unanimous. Alright, and then the second and third readings will be on our next agendas.
Would you like both of them, or do you wanna just read it 3 times, or consider it 3 times, so in the next 2 weeks? So it'd be final, or would you, I guess I need legal advice on what is required.
That's why I was asking if they'd be the next 2 weeks consecutively.
I misunderstood you, I'm sorry.
Okay, no
Yes, we
worries.
can put it on for the next 2 weeks consecutively.
Does anyone on the board have any issues with that? Okay. Let's plan with that moving forward. We will have the next 2 readings on our agenda consecutively. And go through those hearing processes and reading processes. Alright, thank you. Doug, if you're trying to leave quick, do you have
Yes.
quick updates or stuff for us right away?
Do have, this would be a final payment for the bridge south of Titanca. The contractor was all finished and completed all his work. All audits have been made. I just need your signature on this, Kyle.
Okay.
So if you would sign right there, please. Thank you. We do have one request. This we talked about just briefly last week. The work in the road right of way with Julie Whiter. The board did give verbal that would be all right. We got all the agreement, and Tyler, I think, has already hooked up everything. So
Okay.
we have everything for that agreement. I recommend that the board would approve this tile outletting agreement 240803.
I would entertain a motion for this.
So,
Okay, do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, is that number correlating to the date of the approval?
2024 is, 24 is 2024, 8 is the month, but 3 is the third tile agreement, outletting tile
Okay,
agreement.
so since
So it's
this is-
coincidental.
The
that it
number,
happens to
Alright,
be
I
the
just
date.
wanted to make sure there wasn't a typo or something.
No.
But
alright, any further questions, discussion?
Who seconded that?
I did.
Carter.
Carter, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carried unanimous. Do you have anything else right away?
Just last week, we talked about another agreement the Whiters had. This would be by Irvington. There are 2 signatures, Kyle and Tammy.
Okay,
We have one party that signed that agreement.
is this for the one we just voted on? or
That
do we
is
need to
correct.
vote? Okay,
No, that's for, but we need another party to approve of that one. So just to give you an update of how that is going.
okay. Anything else for right away?
That is all the road right away.
Okay, discussion with engineer and zoning administrator.
Yeah, just quickly, the bridge construction project, near Dana Arndorfer's, they drove the pile for the North Pier last week, and that is, going well. We did have a FEMA meeting Wednesday, for both the DR 4784, which is the flooding in May, and DR 4796, the flooding in June. So we are in the process of getting all that work going. So that's kind of all the road work. Then just a reminder that Summit Carbon Solutions has a meeting September 16th at 6 o'clock at the Lakota Eagle Center, and the community conversation on solar power is September 17th. I did receive a phone call last week. This is self-insurance from a consultant offering some services to work with us. I know that other self-insured entities use consultants with their insurance. So I was wondering if the board was interested in any kind of a service where they would analyze some different things, may try to prepare us for what deductibles we should be having, how to administer different things, giving us advice on.
Who was it that contacted you?
Gentleman out of Dubuque. I can't remember the company that he spoke, the company he represented right off the top of my head.
Okay,
I know there are others that do that kind of work as well.
Would you be able to forward on his information?
Pardon me?
Would you be able to forward on his information?
Absolutely. But if the board would like to do that, it's another thing that needs to be worked on is if we're talking about substantial changes to our plan, or if we're gonna be talking about how much employees should be contributing, how much they're not, just things like that, so. That's all that I have.
alright, any questions for Doug from the board?
Thank you for allowing me to do that, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Have a safe trip.
Yeah, thanks.
You heading down there for a meeting or?
No, personal.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.
Alright, Phil, are you ready?
Ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I guess I'll just start with what mental health transports, we have, covered all mental health transports the hospitals had for the last 2 months, so we haven't missed any. What we do with those, we do have a recording system in our vehicles. We record the patient, we record the driver, just for our protection, for their protection. When those are done, I park across the street, they upload into the courthouse files. So no one has access the same way as any of the police videos. So it's a process that I haven't downloaded the last couple three, so it was about an hour process to park across the street and just let it do the thing.
Okay.
So today was a perfect day to get that done, so I was stuck here for an hour anyway. So yeah, the hospital's happy, it's going well, we're keeping those covered. The first thing I got is, been working with the auditor's office on getting a complete inventory in place for all the assets we've acquired between the acquisition of Sway City and Algona. I've got that about completed. The two big questions I have is gonna be on the two buildings. The building in Sway City is actually listed on the assessor's website. It does have an assessed value. The one here in Algona does not. I have no valuation on that building here in Algona because it's always been owned by county. Whereas the one in Sway City was owned by private entity before it was owned by the city. So we do have numbers for that one, it's assessed value. I don't know, we kind of estimate a market value at today's price for the one up there. The one down, which isn't gonna be as difficult as the one down here. The building down here is gonna be a lot harder to value, in my opinion, based on my experience. So I don't know what we wanna do for valuation of that building. The rest of the assets are pretty self-explanatory, other than the two buildings.
Okay. Do you need guidance on how to value that, or what do you?
I would appreciate a direction. Like I say, the Sway City one, I can use the assessed value and kind of go from there. The assessed value was like 28. I would think the sell value would be around 50,000 up there. It's not a very big building, but it is in decent shape.
Can we just ask?
Assessor's office.
Yeah.
I could try them. I haven't
Yeah,
talked to
I think
them.
it'd be, that'd be in their realm of
You want to just go
expertise.
with assessed value, or do we want to try to come up with a market value by using a realtor?
They have you,
maybe everybody else's based on
Is it-
assessment. On all houses, you're gonna do that assessment.
Yeah.
Besides that, it's tied to another building as part.
Yeah, that, and
It's part of another building, and is there, can you separate it? That's my question.
It does have a defined wall that separates the two, but there's a door, that joins them, so
It's
it has no value other than to us or to the hospital,
Right.
basically.
yeah, it's a kind of a single-use building for medical.
We know of any other counties that have a similar setup, that how they
I
handle
do
it?
not, off the top of my head. Like Palo Alto, they're connected to the hospital, but they're owned by the hospital, so it's one facility.
I think the value is very minimal to anybody else.
I can talk to the assessor's office, and see if I can get some,
Yeah.
and then the one up north, you just use assessed value up there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
The next financial thing is, last Saturday night, we did hit a deer, with one of our ambulances. I talked to Justin Tildes, we're gonna look at getting an estimate of what it costs to put deer guards on the front of the trucks, cause that seems to be a common occurrence, especially driving this fall, at night. It happened up by Oak Lake, it was after dark. Fortunately, we were down to 30 miles an hour by the time we hit the deer, so it did minimal damage. But even minimal damage, the estimate came back at $1,500 to fix the vehicle. So it's not a real big cost, but it is unfortunately a cost. My question for you guys is, we have $1,000 deductible on the comprehensive for deer hit. The bill's $1,500. Do we want that to go on our insurance claims, or do we want to just pay the $1,500 and fix it?
I think you better ask Todd.
It used to be that actually $500 was a small amount of insurance companies that hold that against you, but in today's world, it's claim regardless of the dollar amount, so. Is it worth that in the county's eyes to have a $500 claim? I talked to Roger Fisher briefly, and he said normally what they do is if it's that price, they just don't even turn a claim in, they just take care of it.
Okay.
Well, your insurance is gonna go by the number of claims that you send in.
Not by
So it might be more than $500 punishment, but
Correct,
that's the issue.
correct.
I mean, Tammy said check with Todd on making sure that's okay to not turn it in, but I mean, in the private sector, I know the philosophy you're going off of, and yeah. I guess. I could see if it might hurt more than $500 on premium next year. But check the basis first and go from there probably.
Okay. Did go to a building documentation conference in August down in Des Moines. Took a couple staff with on that one. I try to go to that every year. That's one conference I do go to every year. I try to take a staff with me when we do go to it. It's put on by lawyers out of Pennsylvania that are just, all they do is EMS law, so it's good information. We did have an EMS association meeting, which is different than What we have is the EMS Association is kind of a group of all the services in the county. We did look at some safety equipment, and I'm working on writing the grant that will purchase the safety equipment for all the services in the county, so that's the project we're working on. For countywide support, monthly trainings, we started back up again this month in September. We took the summer off, just due to low numbers for the training. We're gonna start those up now. They'll run through the winter, then we'll have our big conference in February again. That AEMT class I talked about, that advanced class that I talked about, it was supposed to be done by December. They did back our start date back to November 14th, so that class will be finishing by with the holidays, but the 1st of March. So we do have staff that will be taking that course. I finally received final numbers from our billing company for last fiscal year. So I'll be compiling the latest, got them Friday afternoon, so I do not even have a good idea where we're at on those numbers, but it's the numbers from last year, not the financial side, but the billing side, you know, what we collected, what's uncollected, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be compiling those along with our budget numbers, and then we'll be setting up a advisory council meeting to review those. Once we have that meeting, I'll come back to you guys and we'll share all the financial stuff. As far as this year's budget that we're currently into, we're right on track to where we should be or below, so everything's good there. We do have an Okoboji conference coming up. New ambulance is still scheduled to arrive sometime at the end of September or 1st of October. CPR class, I talked to Donna, we're looking at a CPR class for the courthouse, also doing a defib training. I still haven't received the new parts yet for the one that we ordered. They're still on back order to get their defib working in the courthouse, but in the meantime, we do have one from officer's car that we put in service, so there's one in the courthouse, just not the one that's normally here. So as soon as we get those parts, we'll have that back. We have meat class, we do have a couple classes coming up for a medical examiner, and then a conference in November, so not sure if we're gonna go to those yet or not. Probably do the October training class, it's just an update on things that are going on. Still haven't started the process of looking to add a person yet, but that's in the works. Gotta find time to get that all done. That's about all I have for today. Questions for me?
Sounds like things are running well.
Yep.
Hear good things.
Yep.
Yep.
We're keeping busy. Our ALS coverage is a lot better than where we were, so coverage wise, county wise, everybody should be happy. We're getting en route quickly and covering the county, so that's our goal.
Yeah.
That's what the public wants more than all the other stuff, so give me a call after, but got a
Thank you.
question before you leave town.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Alright, oh, Donna, we're ready for you.
It worked out too. I could go do our new employee packet while I was here. I wasn't sure what the timing this morning. Basically, general assistance, I think I've brought this up time and time again, but we continue to experience a lot of people with food insecurities. Just this month, or August, we had like 3 people that were out of food stamps by the middle of the month. Some of it is just individual education. They were used to the higher amounts during COVID. Prices, as you know, have gone up, so it's a struggle to make those food insecurities tie together. August 13th, I attended the food pantry meeting. They're continuing to see increases in numbers, not only families, but numbers of individuals that are being served. They're also being impacted by the prices. The food drive in November with AK Chrome in particular, Stuff the Truck, feed the truck, stuff the truck. they're looking forward to. And then Henry Ricky is the director, and he has announced his retirement, so they'll be looking for somebody to man that. Individuals, again, just DHS, I know I bring it up, but I think you guys continue to need to know the impact of not having anybody, people come in, not sure about their reviews, not knowing how to do their reviews. The paperwork just looks overwhelming and people just get frozen and not knowing how to complete that paperwork or how to get it to an office. Continue to say that the website says, see your local office, and then in fine print it says Emma County, but so they physically get given the 109 West State, and that's where they show up. Rent continues for people with rent. Our rent ordinance is 175 that we'll assist with, so in today's competitive rent rate, that doesn't go very far. I did attend the North Iowa Regional Housing meeting, that's why I wasn't here last week. They obviously have different strategies in how they will assist people. Their public housing, they currently have 14 units and I think 2 openings. That's over by Garrigan, the Maplewood. And then obviously there's HUD housing that's in the county, Maple Park, and then you can get a voucher. They're kind of looking at repositioning and maybe selling those to a private investor and then using the voucher system, just because management is so difficult. But again, the whole thing is accessibility and affordability. Even with those 14 units with 2 sitting empty, people just struggle to find competitive rent or openings. I guess we had an appeal to DHS just because we have, and I'm bringing this up because quite often this individual references that she feels that the board of directors, what she refers to, should have some input. I keep on reminding her that really our ability to manage or have any input with Medicaid funding is nothing. Years ago, the county had quite a bit more interaction if somebody wasn't able to provide or get medical care by using Iowa City state papers, but those disappeared. But basically this individual is unable to secure a provider, some due to interactions that they've had in the past. But it's a concern because there's no medical care. I contacted Kossuth Regional Health Center. They have banned this individual. They're not able to see them. Then where do you go? Interagency, we have an interagency group that meets usually every other month. We'll start up in the fall. And September 18th, we meet at the college, have training, different things. The one thing that we're working on is our resource directory. Primarily that's used for the staff that attend and then ministers that are looking for resources. There's been some conversations on how to manage those resource directories, keeping them updated. By default, I don't own the resource directory, but I've been maintaining it. We're looking at updating that to a Google Docs, shared Google Docs, so people can have access to that. The general assistance retreat we have biannually is in September 24th, and I'll be attending that. Any questions?
Thank you for your update.
Appreciate you coming in.
Sounds good, thanks.
Have a good day.
Alright, and I will have to leave for an appointment here in a couple minutes. So we can do discussion with our auditor and board, and then we just have board discussion and drainage left, so. Do you wanna let Marge know we'll be ready soon?
Yeah, so, next week is our special election. We're still gonna have a board meeting, it'll just be smaller. You know, there were a couple things people talked to me about. I don't have anything yet for sure. And then I wanna remind you that this Thursday, the 5th, is our monthly department head meeting. So I encourage you to attend if you can. We're gonna be talking about a bunch of different things, but one thing, sorry. Let Marge know.
Yep.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. One thing we're gonna be talking about is we're struggling with exit interviews. People don't wanna have exit interviews or are leaving, but then from our standpoint in the auditor's office, we're having a problem with insurance. Because if they leave, like today's September 3rd, if they leave tomorrow, their insurance is covered through the end of October. But they have to pay that $250 for October. So if they don't give us a check for that $250, then we have to struggle with, what do we do, and if we don't cancel it, then they've got an insurance that's not paid for, so we're struggling with that issue. So we're gonna be talking about how to handle that issue and to make sure we've kind of come up with a form we're still working on, so that our office can handle that paperwork regardless if they want an exit interview or not, that the department head needs to make sure that we get that information filled out before they leave, because it has become a problem in the last couple times somebody has left employment, so
Yeah,
we want to make sure that that doesn't continue to happen.
and I'll just highlight that as well. I've been to several department head meetings. I know Roger's been to some, but that's something we as a board probably need to make a better priority of going forward. So that's my 2 cents, but.
Okay, and then I have a thank you from RSVP for you guys all. And we're busy working on the election next Tuesday, and we're also busy getting absentee ballot request forms for the general election. So our office is pretty busy right now with the other stuff we have going on too, and I think that is all I have.
Alright, thank you. Jack, Roger?
No, none.
Josh?
I did not have any meetings.
Carter?
Care Connections last Tuesday, fairly short meeting, was only on Zoom. Different facilities are still recovering from all the flooding and getting their building situations figured out.
Thank you.
And other than that, we talked about last time, Melissa and Barry Anderson, our board chair, had gone down and, I guess negotiated with others in regards to how the districts would be formed, so we're gonna be in a more central area up this way rather than, thrown in with Story and Cerro Gordo and others, so we will have Fort Dodge and Spencer, but kind of the 3 counties, Webster, Calhoun, Sac will be the south end, and then it'll be all the counties surrounding Kossuth County with the addition of Dickinson, Clay, Winnebago, and Worth County. So this north central Iowa region.
Okay.
Yep, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of news there, paid claims and, yep, fairly short meeting.
Alright, I did not have any formal meetings to report on that way. And Marge, you got a couple drainage repair requests, looks like. Carter's a lucky winner today.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Roger have one?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that was from last week.
sure.
Do you wanna read yours off quick, Carter?
Yep, number 100 is in DD 132, open ditch, Prairie Section 3. There's a washout on the bank and head wall of open ditch. This is around the corner from that major washout on Old 18. It just was never, realized it was never put in a request form. Yep, and then I have, number 101 in VAK 1, open ditch from Brian Toole. It's in Whittemore, section 4. On the east side of the open ditch there is a large washout near the lateral 8 outlet. So
That one would be tied
that
in
would be
with our
with,
other,
with PAK 1 repairs.
engineering.
Yeah, so if you could submit this one to Colin, that would be great. Thank you, Marge.
okay? Do I have a motion for the supervisors? Okay,
Second.
do you have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carried unanimous. Roger, yours was read last week by Josh, he got the fun of that,
That's good.
of reading it, so. Alright. There's those. Roger, do you have your copy signed? We'll pass that on. Alright, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carried unanimous. We're adjourned at 9:54.